All right. So our next topic is CRUD. C-R-U-D. All right. So what is CRUD? So CRUD basically defines the basic functionality of almost every web/mobile application. Okay. CRUD is basically short for create. So C is short for create. R is short for retrieve. U is short for update. D is short for delete. Okay? So we kind of already have this functionality, but we have it for our admin page. But most of our users won't be using the admin page, right? So what we need to do is we need to give them these features through another interface. So we need to create our own views, all right? So we've actually already finished one of these. Which one do you think we finished? Retrieve or create? I heard some of you say delete. Create? Take a minute to think about it. What views have we built so far? Retrieve. So what we've done is retrieve. So list and detail, what they're basically doing is retrieving. So what we have done is the R part. Now, what we will cover, due to time constraints, we'll only cover the C, create, as well as the R. U, which is update, is very similar to create. D is pretty easy, but we'll cover the create. If we have extra time, we can cover that as well. All right? So it all depends on you guys. If you guys can keep up, I'll cover even more. Cool? Cool. So let's see what's next. The create view. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create the create view. Now, what is a create view? A create view basically allows a user to create objects. And this GIF is not working. Okay. Yes. So you get to put information into some sort of form. For example, you're creating a restaurant. You put in all the required information. And this is going so slowly. Bear with me. Basically, you get to put in information and submit the data. That's what a create view is. And at the end of the day, it just creates an object. All right, so you put in information, you submit it, and the end result is an object. Clear? Create. Can you guys give me an example of create view other than creating a restaurant? Registration. Perfect example. So when you're registering, technically what you are doing is you are creating a user object, right? Anything else? Bank account. Be more specific. So when you create a new account, technically you are creating an account object. Today, when you ordered food, you are creating a new order, right? So all of this stuff, when you need to create new data, that's create. Cool? So what we need to create, let's go back to code, all right? Let me just open up the project real quick and we'll do some code. All right. So let's think about it. Let's think about how things actually work. All right. How am I going to take the input from the user? A form. All right. So the first thing that I need to do is I need to create a form first. All right. So let's just close up all this for now, so we can focus only on a form. Now, when I'm going to create a form, now I can write it in any one of the files, but to keep my work neat, to keep my code clean, I'm going to create a separate file for the forms. Okay. So I'm going to go to my app. Okay. And I'm going to create a file inside my app called forms.py. Okay. Forms.py. Now I'm going to say from Django, import forms. Now, what I'm going to create is a form, and in this case, a form is also a class. All right, so I'm going to call this, since I'm dealing with articles, I'll call it the article form. All right, so the type of form that we're going to create is something called a model form. Okay. Give me a minute to write the code, and then I'll explain it to you. Okay? So before writing that, I'm going to open the model, keep it up there, so that we can compare. All right. So what I'm saying here is I'm going to create something called a model form. Okay. What's a model form? Basically, a model form is a form for your model. As simple as that. All right. Now, what does that mean? It means whatever attributes I have for my model, for example, like title, author, description, and publish date, I will take advantage of that. What does that mean? We'll see in a bit. So here I have something called class meta. What's this class meta? Anytime I want to create some sort of link, I use class meta. What am I linking here? I'm linking the form to the article. So I'm saying this is a model form. For what? For the model that is article. So class meta creates that association, it creates that link. All right? Hello? Did you finally answer? All right. So, class meta creates that association. What association are we making? The association that's between the article and the model form. Okay? Now, what fields in the form would I like to show? I would like to show the title, the author, the description, and the publish date. I would like the user to input all of these fields for the form. Okay? So, now we said a model form takes advantage of the attributes, right? Let's see what it would look like if I don't use a model form. Okay? So let's just take a look at what a normal form would look like. So I can say class, article form, forms.form. Now what I need to do here, I need to define each and individual field. So I need to say title equals to forms.char field. And then I need to say author is char field, description is also a forms.char field. So there's no text field when it comes to forms. And then publish date is equal to forms.date field. And then I need to go and say required equals true, and then do that for these as well. So what do you think is easier, this or this? My opinion, The first one. All right. Now there's even lots of shortcuts that you can do to the first one. For example, let's say right now, what I'm doing here basically is I'm including all of the fields, right? I can do a little shortcut. If I want all of the fields, I can say underscore underscore all instead of all that. If I want all the fields, that's it. So I can either do this or the one under. Cool? Any questions? Yes.
What is model equal article?
So I'm saying this is a model form, but which model is this a form for? For the model which is called article. Sorry, can you speak louder? Oh, what about this? Why did I comment it? So command slash. It's a keyboard shortcut, but it's available in, I think, all text editors. So I think if you're on Windows, it's Control plus this. Mac, command plus this. All right. Yes. The name what? So yeah, so this has to be model. This has to be fields. Good question. Yes. Very good question. So remember how we said that the model form takes advantage of the model? So when I'm relating this model form to the article and I say title, it will go to the article model, see what type of field it's using, and use the same field for the form. So it makes things a lot easier for me. So if I already created the model, why do I need to go and tell it what type of field it's using? So again, it gives me shortcuts. Right. Just the char field. Yeah. Because essentially they're both the same thing. It's just that one has a limit, the other one doesn't. Any other questions? All right. So I'm going to keep this shortcut for now, the one with underscore all. Okay. And now we move on to the next step. So now I have my form. How am I going to display to the user? What do you guys think? View, right? So now I need to import this form into the view. Let's open up our views file. So first of all, I'm going to import it. I'm going to say from dot forms import article form. All right. Now I'm going to create a new view. Let's do it up here. I'm going to say def article create takes a request. And for now, I'll say form is equal to article form. And context, we'll say create form is this. Create.html. So what I did was I just created an instance of the form and I passed it to context. Okay? That's all. So now I need to create.html and then try to display the form. Okay? Is this part clear? Any questions about this? Repeat? Sure. So, I created my form, right? Now what I need to do is, I need to import it here into my views so that I can actually use it. All right. So now I created a new view for the create, and I grabbed article form and I created a instance of it. I created a article form object. Created an object, that's a form. Okay. Put it in a variable, and I pass this variable into the dictionary. And now this dictionary is being sent where? To create.html. I mean, this is the same thing as doing this. Okay, I just saved it in a variable and then sent it.
So by doing this step, the user can see the page?
Not yet. Not yet.
But we create an HTML.
We'll create it now. Yeah, that's the next step. Any other questions? All right, let's see it now. All right, let's create the create.html. Create.html. So what did I call it in my views? I called it create form, right? So I'm going to come here and I'm going to say create form. لحد الآن قاعد أعملها حال any other variable that I pull in from context, صح? Same thing so far. All right, let's create a URL because again, this is just like any other view, right? Let's create a URL. We'll call it create. Whoops. Change the to article create, and everything should be fine now. All right, let's try it out. Oh, we need to run the server. And we'll go to create. This is what I see. It's not pretty, but it's a form, right? So I have my title field, my author field, description, publish date, right? Now let's play around with this a bit. If I go to forms and I take out one of the fields, just let it refresh. Now that's gone. I put it back in. It's back. So whatever fields I mention in my form are the fields that get displayed for the user. Okay? All right. Clear up until now? Okay. So now there's a few problems here. What are the problems? So if I type stuff in, when I try to enter, nothing really happens. Let's see if a button actually makes a difference. So I create a button now. Let's put an actual date. Doesn't really do anything. So someone said something right. I don't know who it was, but basically what I need to add is a form element, right? I need to wrap all of this inside a form element. Let's just remove all this unnecessary stuff. All right. All I did was I wrapped it inside of this. Okay? That's all I did. Any questions so far? Let's see what changed. All right, so let's refresh. Put some stuff in here. Name, whatever, a date. What changed? So the text went away, and whatever I typed into here actually went to the URL. So two things. First of all, remember when we talked about requests, request types? We said we're going to be using the two most common ones, which are get and post. Now the reason that this went into the URL is because by default, if I don't give it a method, by default it'll use get. And when you submit a form through get, it takes the information and puts into the URL. Okay? All right. So what we need to do is, we need to say post. Let's refresh. You don't need the action. It says reason given for failure, CSRF token missing or incorrect. Well, there's nothing wrong, but there's something missing. There's nothing wrong with, there's no need for a URL. You don't need to give it the action. It'll give it to the same view by default. This is the answer. I just read it out loud. CSRF token. Do you guys know what that is? All right. So again, remember when I said Django protects you from making mistakes? The first thing that we mentioned was when we were looking at the user. So one of you asked about whether the user's password gets encrypted. We said one of the things that Django does for you is it does not allow you to use a user without having his password encrypted, right? Another thing that Django allows you to do, or another thing that Django does, is it does not let you submit requests or submit post requests without having something called a CSRF token. So what is a CSRF token? To put it in very simple terms, think of it as a OTP. You guys know what an OTP is? One-time password. If you pay online, sends you a PIN, you put it in. It's kind of the same concept. So what happens is, let's put it in and then we'll see how it works. So you do something like this, CSRF token. Okay. So I'll go back and I'll refresh. If I inspect this page and I open the form, I see that there's a CSRF token here with this value. You see this token that gets generated? Every time you come to this page, it generates a different token. Why is this important? So it makes submitting data secure. So if someone stole your token, which does happen to most websites that use PHP, just saying, all right? If someone steals your token, you can easily get hacked and people can submit data as you. But what Django does, it forces you to use a CSRF token. So even if your token does get stolen, it can only be used once. It matches it to your session. So if someone steals your token, they can get your session history, and from your session history, they can, trick you into getting other stuff. One of the most common ways of doing this is tricking you into filling in your data into a form. And then once you click on that form, it takes you to a URL that you're not familiar with, and then you're screwed. And then once they have your token, boom, they have access to whatever they tried to trick you into getting into. So this protects you from that. So again, just to make things very simple, think of it as an OTP. It's a token or a string. So if I refresh the page now, different token. Refresh the page, different token. Just to make things a little easier to see. So you see it? Refresh, different one. Refresh, different one. So again, all of these are specific to me, but I can only submit using it once. If I try to submit again, it'll throw a CSRF token failure. If you want to read more about it, just Google it. Cool? Simple terms, you just need to have it. All right. So now let's try to submit. Okay? Let's have our list page. What did I call it? List? I think I called it list. Oh, it's articles. Okay. So let's have our articles page here and our create page here. Oh wait, why is that still going there? Is that still going there? Okay, so the page is working fine, but if I go here and I refresh, it's not creating. You guys thought it was that easy to create? No. All right, so now we are sending the data properly. We're sending it, but we haven't done anything with it. So what we've covered so far is how to send the data properly. Okay? Now what we need to do is we need to receive it and then do something with it. Right? All right, so before jumping into that, let's just do a quick review of what we did. Okay? So the form that we sent here, we called it over here using the key. All right? We wrapped it inside of a form element, and we said, I will send it through a post request. A post request is used for submitting data. All right? And another thing that I did, I created a submit button, and I had to include a CSRF token because Django will not allow me to post data without being secure. Okay? Cool. All right. Oh, by the way, just a quick way to get around this form looking super ugly. You can just say dot as p. It'll look like this. Just a little better. It's still ugly, but you know, better than nothing. All right. So now we need to handle the data that we're receiving. Okay? So I'm going to come here under my form. I'm going to say if request dot method is post. So if I am receiving a post request, what am I going to do? I'm going to take the form and fill it in with the data that was posted. Okay? If the method is post, take the form and fill it in with the data that the user sent. Is this clear? Do it one more time. If the method is post, so if someone is trying to submit data, give me the form again, but this time I don't want it empty. Give me the form with the data that the user typed in. Okay? Clear? All right. Now before saving it, I want to check if the data is valid. if form dot is valid. Is the information that the user put into this form correct? If it's correct, then I save. Clear? Else, just go back and see the form again. Yes? To the database. Yes? Very good question. What is this check? So, right now, what the title is, it's a char field, right? It'll check that I actually submitted a string for the title. It'll check that I actually submitted a date for the date field. So it'll check that the data that I submitted is actually valid. Now this form is valid can only be used if I'm using a model form. So another perk of using a model form. Cool? Yes?
Can I refer the user to the same form with the flashback? Can I refer the user to the form, to the same form? The flashback that says what is not.
What is wrong?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you can do that. So let's get this working properly, okay? And then we can do something like that. All right? Any other questions? All right. Yes.
Do we have a database now?
Do we have?
Database.
We do have a database.
So this form is taking the.
See this right here, db.sqli3. That's our local database. Let's try to create an object now. So let's refresh here just to make sure that this is what we have. I'm refreshing. Okay, so this is what we have now. Let's create an article. Someone give me a title. I didn't hear you. Wow. Author? Oh, the author is cool. Very creative. Description? Huh? Wow is cool. All right, let's create. So I clicked create. Let's go back here and refresh. Wow, that's cool. All right. But there's something that's still not really that nice. When I clicked submit, I was still on the same page. So maybe if I submit correctly, I'm gonna be redirected to another page, right? We'll see, we'll see. So, before we jump into that, any questions on this? No? Yes. So right now, it's anyone. Anyone can go to my website and post data for now. Yes. You had a question? Same question?
What we didn't do last time on this page.
It was basically this, checking for the post request, taking in the information, checking if it's valid, and then saving it. Was this part that we didn't do. Any other information? Any other question? So let's redirect the user to another page. So I'm going to import a function called redirect. Okay. I'm going to say from Django. Oh, okay, it's already imported. I'll just go up here next to the render and I'll say comma, redirect. Okay? I'll go back down. Oh, no, wait, where is it? Right here. I'll say return, redirect. And what do you think this is going to take? The name of the URL. All right. And the name of my URL is, let's, for example, return it to the article list. So I'll take the name for the article list. Article list. Cool? Hello? All right. Let's go back here. Let's refresh. Let's try to create something now. Hello? Person in the audience. There's a limit. Person. I can't answer now. Let's do this and create. And it takes me back to the list page. And there's the hello. Cool. So all we added was this line right here. Return, redirect, and then we gave it the name of the URL. All right? Yes. Sure. This over here? No. So this part is used when, so you know when you first come to the page and you see this empty form, that's from the render part. So this gets triggered when you submit. So, any other questions? All right. So one of you asked another question that was, so showing the errors. So this isn't in the slides, but it's easy, so we might as well cover it real quick. Well, let's see. Where's the HTML? All right. So if your form has errors, so essentially your form is an object, right? Now, if there is something wrong and it is not valid, okay, I can access an attribute called .errors. And this is a list of error messages, okay? So what I can do is, I can, let's see, can go up here and do a little for loop. And I'll say for error in form, or create form, dot errors. Maybe we'll do it in like a list. Oh no, wait. So for each error, I'm just gonna print it out like this. So this is what we're gonna use to show the errors, if there are any. All right. Let's try it out. Let's refresh. So instead of typing in a title, for example, I'm just gonna add spaces to let it think that I'm typing something in. Put an author, put this, put a date, and then I'll try to create. It says title and publish field, publish date. This field is required, whatever. And then it gives me that there's something wrong here. And enter a valid date. Cool? No? All right, let's do something like this. Let's not even do this, or, oh right, this is a model form. 1 second. I forgot. This is a model form, so I don't even need this. See this? So because I'm using a model form, does the error handling for me already. If I was using a form, I'd need to do it myself. This field is required, this field is required, enter a valid date. You can customize. If you want to, you can override a validate method for the form. What happened to the view? All right. Any other questions about the create view? The what? The URLs file? Oh, the models file, yes. I didn't? So that's a good question. She said, you didn't specify that the title and the author are required, right? So by default, when you define a field, it's required by default. So the question is, how do you make it optional? Not really, but what you want to do is you want to go here. For example, let's say I want the description to be not required. I'll say null equals true. All right. Now, because I made a change to my model, what should I do now? Make migrations and migrate. Because I made a change for the model. Anytime you make a change for a model, or you create a new model, you need to make migrations and migrate. Any other questions? Who said, yes, what's your question? Oh, supporting Arabic, that is a completely different thing. So Django does have something for that. Django localization. Oh, internationalization, localization. So you'll want to go through this, internationalization, localization. It lets you support as many languages as you want, but you'll have to manually provide the translation for whatever text you'd like to switch when you switch languages. Make sense? Kind of. I'll send you a link, you can read about it. I'll send you guys this link in Slack for whoever's interested. Any other questions? You guys sure? So if I give you a task, you'll be able to solve it? Yes. Why? So that when the user is finished, so when he submits and everything is okay, I'll take him to another page. Any other questions? All right. Should we start a task now? I'll listen to the very few people that said yes. All right. Task 6. Let's go. I'll send this link in Slack so that I can put a timer up. Oh, let's close, look back.